Welcome to Behind the Curtain IMO. I'm Betsy Jordan. I want to talk about young men, Gen Zers, which is a wholly different effect on the election. They are well informed, they are influenced, and in the Trump campaign, deliberately so. Elon Musk was a masterful stroke because he's their hero for young men under the age of 30. I mean, think about it. He's the richest man in the world. He is blanketing the stratosphere with satellites. He owns all of our defense contracts. He defies every concept, every limit that they see put on someone. He bought a social media platform. He forced Tesla founders out of Tesla, by the way. So if you're a young man and you're watching this, understand that Tesla is not his. He did not found it. He was an investor in it. So just know that, he's done some things out of acquisition, a lot of things out of acquisition. It's not him making that stuff up, okay? Not that that makes a whole lot of difference. He is brilliant about his investments, and he is a good businessman. But even he would tell you that the middle class and lower classes are going to get hit pretty hard because they're going to get rid of what they call entitlements, like Medicare and Social Security. And if you're young, you don't care so much about that. But seniors do. But they cared more about the price of groceries at the grocery store. So getting back to our young men, I'm going to play a clip, an Instagram clip, from a young man who is a Gen Zer, and he spoke to what I believe happened. But I knew it was already happening. Again, this is not Monday morning quarterbacking. I brought it up at the last National Finance Committee meeting when we were talking about our social media reach. Now, my concern was that I knew that the Trump campaign had invested in influencers. And these influencers were influencing young men in terms of gaming. Particularly, I was speaking to that in terms of hunting and fishing, any hobby that they had. And Hassan will speak to this in this clip coming up. I already knew this, and I raised this concern because I have nephews who are influenced. And I didn't understand exactly how it was happening until the Monday morning quarterbacking was happening. And they were saying it was not only influencers influencing, but they had specific talking points. And so they were enrolling men in an extreme perspective of how they've been done wrong. Watch the clip.
There is a massive amount of right-wing radicalization that has been occurring, especially in younger male spaces. Everything is completely dominated by right-wing politics. If you're a dude under the age of 30 and you have any hobbies whatsoever, whether it's playing video games, whether it's working out, whether it's, listening to like a history podcast or whatever, every single facet of that is just completely dominated by center-right to, I wouldn't say far-right in the same way that it was back in like the 2016 era at the end of like Obama's administration, but like definitely center-right to Trumpian right, like openly Trump right, not like genuinely neo-Nazi. That part is quieted down a little bit, but like they're like 90% of the way there for the most part. And that's it. Everything that they see is right-wing sentiment being expressed by individuals that they find charismatic, thought leaders, influencers that they subscribe to. And I think that is some of the reason why you see this movement.
Now you're back. So how did the campaign tell me they were going to reach young men? And they said they had a Twitch account. So their strategy was still a global one, and it wasn't specific for these young men. And I had heard that we were losing our young men. I felt that we were losing our young men when I was at the convention, the Democratic convention in August. And I mean, I'd felt it a year before, that somehow having a conversation about what was really going on in the world from a different perspective than what they were being fed was almost impossible, because it made it sound so reasonable, right? So we are going to need to take a look at how we have been losing our young men. When I brought this up to I've mentioned Simon Rosenberg several times to you. He's very credible, very, very knowledgeable. I value what he is saying, and I value his opinion. And I knew that he had told me some things he was absolutely 100% correct on. But when I attempted to talk to him about what we were doing with young men, he wasn't ready to hear that. And part of that is we're going along a path we don't have much time, and so we need to stick to the path. This is not unusual for me to experience when I'm going through a campaign that needs to shift course or add something to what they're already doing. Because everyone in a campaign is overtaxed. Everyone in a campaign, it's like being at war. And if you've got a campaign and you're saying, I'm going to do this and I'm going to go around to the right flank, then when somebody comes and says, oh, you shouldn't do that, it needs to go this way, or we need to add the cavalry over here, usually all their resources are allocated to this because we base that on historical perspective. So I don't know what to do about campaigns that need a SWAT team, but there are campaigns that need a SWAT team to go, okay, I get that this is what you're planning on doing. We need something more here. Targeted here, targeted here, targeted here. I am not at all critical of the campaign because it was brilliant. Kamala's campaign was brilliant. Trump's campaign was brilliant. And the circumstances and the headwinds that Kamala faced meant that the minute she started becoming the candidate, there was no way for her to win. Because if there had been a way, we would have found it. So I'm not being critical. We did have a fair and free election. People simply voted their pocketbook and voted because they were afraid they needed law and order. And what stimulated that was a misunderstanding and a mislabeling of defunding the police. So Trump learned from that, and his strategy is very different. So I will be doing 2 more episodes. That one, which is my Christmas wish list to President Biden, and one is a wish list for 2025 and beyond for President Trump. And that will conclude the election season portion of Behind the Curtain IMO. I will then start a new season, a new series, and it will still be Behind the Curtain IMO, so I can let you know what happens behind the curtain, but I will be talking about how to survive and the issues that come up in front of us. Because I want to know how Starlink is being created and how it's being invested in. I want to have some brilliant people come and talk to you about vaccines and what really happened, because they were studying healthcare and immunology during the time of COVID. So it's kind of a boots on the ground information piece. There are several, those are 2 things that I already know I want to cover and deal with in this new series, and I don't even know what I'm going to call it yet. So if y'all have some ideas, let me know. This is Behind the Curtain IMO. Thank you for being here.